Bulls Nation, another important game today that we had to play against the Toronto Raptors, a once again short-staffed Toronto Raptors team, and the Chicago Bulls picked up a very important victory to help us further in the standings and to help us continue to find ways to win. A massive game for the Chicago Bulls, and one that we could not take lightly, and we did not take lightly. So we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bulls, the positives and the negatives, and the importance of this victory in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today we've got a Chicago Bulls versus Toronto Raptors game reaction. The Chicago Bulls has done some good positives over the last few games, and of course it has led to some very vital victories that could potentially be game-changing towards the end of the season. And it's good to see the Chicago Bulls against teams that we're in competition for 8th place, 9th place, 10th place, and above the 8th seed as well. All these teams that we are very close to. It's good to see that the Chicago Bulls are finding ways to win these types of games, and once again we've done that against the Toronto Raptors. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls. How important was this victory today with the Chicago Bulls? Obviously a short-staffed Toronto Raptors team, and the Bulls took advantage of what was put in front of them. And also let me know your player of the game, as there were some very good performances in today's game as well. The score for this game was 122 to 113 to the Chicago Bulls. Again, we were up by almost 20 the entire game, and yes, we did have a very big slip up in the fourth quarter that brought this to a 10-point game. But the Chicago Bulls, I thought personally from the entire game, managed this game fairly well, and that's something that has not been said about this team for a long time, because we don't usually manage games well. We don't usually find ways to make runs when other teams make runs, or we don't stop the runs quick enough. We've always said this about our team. We're not that type of team that once they make a run, we're going to stop it. We're not that type of team, and I still don't believe we are, but we're definitely a very talented offensive team that we can go on runs ourselves. And that's something we did a lot of today. Every single time Toronto brought it to around a 13-point, 12-point game, we extended it back to that 20-point lead more often than not. So that's the biggest positive I take away from the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, it was a 9-point victory for the Bulls today, but ultimately, throughout the entirety of the game, I thought the management of this game was pretty good for a team that never used to manage games well at all. This was definitely a good step in the right direction. I thought, in terms of the negative side of the game, turnovers were still very big for this game. I actually counted the turnovers today. I believe we had 14 or 15 turnovers today, which is, again, it's lower than our average, but it's still not good, especially when we're up by so much that we're giving the ball away so easily as well. There were some turnovers today that were so avoidable. It is a bit frustrating to watch that and notice that on a game basis, and it has happened today as well. We also, for a team that rebounded the ball well, we also had struggling issues on the offensive glass. We gave away a lot of second chance opportunities. This is something that's been known for quite some time for the Chicago Bulls. We do give away a lot of second chance points, and that's going to be the case in today's game as well. We gave away a lot of second chance opportunities, but apparently we out-rebounded the Orlando Magic, so I guess we did some work on the glass as well, but I would like to see that improve once again as well. Simple as that. Not really too much else to say on that retrospect. The bench production was huge for today's game, and this is the consistent thing that I want to keep seeing for the Chicago Bulls. Consistency coming off that bench. We have a very young bench. We have Kobe White and we have Larry Markkinen. The two main guys coming off of that bench needs to work every single night. Find that production every single night. And today and last game, 2 consecutive games where both players played well and the bench played well because of that. So very good in that area as well. And obviously the starting lineup played well as well. This entire team from start to finish played well. And it's a very important through this stretch of wins that we've had over the past few games, 3-game win streak for the Chicago Bulls. It's very important to beat those teams that are put in front of you that are competing. I say this all the time, and it's very important as well. It's very important that I keep saying it, because we're versing teams that are at the end of the day, a lot of these teams that we've versed don't have their best players. But that is not our fault. We can't control who we face on any given night. At the end of the day, we can't really take notice or really take into consideration that Brooklyn didn't have James Harden, didn't have Kevin Durant. We can't take into consideration that the Pacers didn't have Sabonis, didn't have Malcolm Brogdon. We can't take into consideration that the Raptors didn't have Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, pretty much a lot of their team. They only had 8 men in today's game. Unfortunately, none of these things are our issues, so we need to take advantage of every single game, every single situation, every single play that is put in front of us. And I believe we're doing that very well. We need to take advantage of these games. Unfortunately, I would love to verse the Raptors at their best. I would like to verse the Brooklyn Nets at their best. It's a much more important win when they're at their best. But this is still a very important win for the Chicago Bulls. And many people will say a vital win for the Chicago Bulls. At the end of the day, according to standings, the Raptors are 11th, we're 10th, the Pacers are 9th. To get a win over the 9th seeded Indiana Pacers and the 11th seeded Toronto Raptors, two teams that could potentially be where we could end up. We could end up the 11th seed, we could end up the 9th seed, and we could even go beyond that. It's important to pick up wins against those teams that are trying to take your place and are not trying to fall to where you are. It's a very important time for the Chicago Bulls, and picking up those 2 wins will be massive going towards the end of the season. I truly believe that. Now, we versed the Toronto Raptors twice already this season, and we are 2-0 against them. Last time we versed them, it was a very similar story. They didn't have their best team out there for the majority, and we took advantage of that. And that's something I'd like to see a little bit more with every single game, of course. Every single game that we have. If there are, again, that next game against the Atlanta Hawks, they have some injuries that could be damaging towards their season as well. Questionable players that might not be playing. So if that's the case, we need to take advantage of a team like the Atlanta Hawks, like we take advantage of a team like the Toronto Raptors. But with that 2-0 victory against the Toronto Raptors, we've won the season series already, but we still have the Toronto Raptors one more time this season. And again, that game, if the standings remain where it is at this point in time, if we're still very close to the Toronto Raptors, that game will become very important as well. So very good to see the Bulls pick up a very important victory here. Now, let's go into those individual performers. Let's talk about the positives I thought the Chicago Bulls team had and some of the negatives as well. But at the end of the day, a lot of this is going to be very important. A lot of the players played very well, and I think most of them deserve good praise for the Chicago Bulls today. Patrick Williams, 11 points, 1 assist, 7 rebounds. I actually thought this was a fairly quiet game for Patrick Williams, to be honest, but he played tremendously well. Nearly got a double-double, played very well. Good defense. He obviously got some hustle plays, some very good rebounds as well. A fairly solid night for Patrick Williams. And again, something I've come to expect over him consistency-wise. This has been an ongoing thing for Patrick Williams. He usually is a very consistent player, which is something I don't expect from a rookie too often, to be honest. There are games where he's going to have bad games, and it's going to be there here and there with Patrick Williams. But for the most part, he has been consistent for this team. So a very solid night for Patrick Williams tonight. Thaddeus Young, 11 points, 6 assists, and 9 rebounds. Very close to a triple-double once again, only 4 assists and 1 rebound away. Thaddeus Young played very well. Again, he got into the post-game a little bit. He took a charge that wasn't actually a charge, which I thought was stunning that the ref didn't call that. But regardless, once again, a very consistent night from Thaddeus Young. Once again, a very solid night from him. And again, this has been an ongoing theme for a long time for Thaddeus Young. There's not too much to complain about in terms of his performance again either. And he only played 24 minutes today. So he's doing good things in less minutes compared to most of the starters. So it's great to see Thaddeus Young still, with all these changes, still being that one guy that is the most consistent guy on the team. Nikola Vucevic, 22 points, 4 assists, 7 rebounds. This wasn't Nikola Vucevic's best game, but it was definitely a very good game as well. Again, a consistent guy, a guy that does the things that he does so efficiently. He's a good mid-range shooter. He can crash the offensive glass. He can get his points, and he can find open men. So this is exactly what Vucevic does on a nightly basis, and we're starting to slowly see what Vucevic will bring to this team, and it's a very good thing to see. And I'd like to see it continue for the long haul for the Chicago Bulls. We're gonna have a lot of years with Nikola Vucevic on this team doing these types of things, playing this type of way, and you love to see that if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, because he's definitely, in my opinion, going to add so much more depth, so much more offensive talent, and so much more chances to win with him in the team. So very good for Nikola Vucevic. But one guy that is going to get a lot of praise from me today, Zach LaVine. 22 points, 13 assists, 6 rebounds. Many people outside of the Chicago Bulls fan base that I know consider Zach LaVine to be a ball hog. Well, they obviously don't watch the Chicago Bulls. I think it's very simple. They do not watch the Chicago Bulls. And if they did watch the Chicago Bulls, or if they even understood what the Chicago Bulls tried to do with Zach LaVine, you would understand Zach LaVine's far from a ball hog. Maybe in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, at times he can be a bit of a ball hog. But outside of that, Zach LaVine is a very willing passer. And this is another game. We've seen a bunch of games like this. Maybe he doesn't get the 13 assists. But again, in most games, he tries his very best to get other people involved into the game, because that not only helps his game, but it helps everybody else on the team as well. Zach LaVine is a team player. He's not a selfish player, and this is another game that proves that. What a fantastic game from Zach LaVine, and he didn't need to drop 40. This is what I always say. Zach LaVine doesn't need to drop 40 to have a good game, to have a great game, and this was a very great game from Zach LaVine. I'm very happy with his performance today, scoring wise and playmaking wise, and again, he played some good defense as well. He crashed the boards. This is an all-around solid game from our all-star Zach LaVine, and it's hard sometimes when you look at Vucevic and Zach LaVine to play together. It's hard to think Vucevic is an all-star as well. It is. We have 2 all-stars on this team. First time in ages that I've seen the Chicago Bulls have 2 all-stars on this team. You love to see that, and I hope we can continue to see the best out of these 2 for many games to come, especially when we have more winnable games on the horizon. Satoransky, 9 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds. A very solid game for Satoransky again. Playmaking-wise, he is our guy. He is our point guard. He is going to be the one to facilitate this team and do it properly. And it was great to see the Satoransky have yet again another solid game. The points and especially the shot selection for Satoransky in that starting lineup will not always be there. So there will be games where Satoransky has more shots than maybe assists, maybe more points than assists, maybe even just a very good aggressive scoring game. But most of the time, those shot selections will go to the other 4 players on this team, especially the 3, Thaddeus Young, Vucevic, Zach LaVine, will get the bulk of the scoring in that starting lineup. So the fact that Satoransky is still contributing, still finding ways to impact the game in his playmaking and in many ways his defense as well, I simply cannot complain with him being in the starting lineup, with his production in that starting lineup. I think it's a good addition. But I've said this at times as well, when we verse some very good teams, it does feel like we do need some changes in that starting lineup. But this is obviously for another time. All of the starting lineup played well today, and the bench played well today. So that's something I'm not going to get into too much. But again, many people have said that before, and maybe that case is still valid. But at this point in time, with the teams that we have, I can't complain with the lineups that we're picking, and I can't complain with the production of most of these players. Daniel Theis, 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists. This is by far the best Daniel Theis game we've seen for the Chicago Bulls, and we all know this. If you have watched any Boston Celtics game with Daniel Theis playing, Daniel Theis plays very well against the Toronto Raptors, and he's doing it for the Bulls as well. It's been no different, and again, with 1 game left to play against the Toronto Raptors, Daniel Theis might have another good game against them. Very happy with Daniel Theis' production coming off that bench, a double-double coming off of the bench, a very solid night for him. Definitely probably the best bench player that we had today, and again, he's been a very good pickup, a very nice addition to this team, and it's something that we haven't seen. We haven't seen a really solid backup center in a long time, at least a consistent one. Daniel Theis has been on a winning team before, so he understands what it takes to win games, and he's showing that to a bunch of our players. I think he's helped the bench dramatically. I think he's helping Larry Markin. I think he's helping Kobe White, and I think the starting lineup is helping this bench as well become the best it could possibly be. So this is why the bench production in the last few games has been absolutely superb, and it's time to keep it up, and hopefully we can see that bench production shine against some of the better teams when we do end up facing them later on in the season. Kobe White, 15 points, 1 assist, 3 rebounds. A solid scoring game from Kobe White. He gave us a very good first half. He played very, very well in the first half. What I noticed about Kobe White, there were some issues in terms of turning the ball over. I noticed that a lot with Kobe White. Some of his dribbling wasn't great. His passing at times was a bit off. But scoring-wise, I can't complain with 15 points coming off the bench. Not at all. Very good game scoring-wise. And he looked a bit frustrated. I'm not sure if it was with the game, the referees, or maybe even himself. But every time he got a foul called against him, he was frustrated. And it seemed like maybe that frustration got into his head a little bit, and which is why he had a little bit of a worse second half. So again, he's a young player, and again, those frustrations, those emotions, they get the better of you. It gets most of the time, it gets the best out of everybody, that emotional side of the game. And it is frustrating sometimes, especially when you feel like you've done nothing wrong, yet you're getting foul calls against you. So again, with Kobe White, it's a solid game. I feel like this is the time to big up Kobe White, because he did have 2 very good games, consecutive games, and maybe this could be that turning curve, that learning curve, that turning point for Kobe White, where he could continue to be an efficient bench player, coming off of that bench, scoring those 15 points, getting himself motivated, confident, and ready to play. And that could be very vital towards the bench production and winning for the Chicago Bulls. Last but not least, Larry Marketing, 18 points and 3 rebounds for Larry Marketing. I thought Larry Marketing played very well today. Once again, another player, 2 consecutive games where he played very well for the Chicago Bulls. I thought his shot selection was superb. I saw him in the post today. He got 1 post hook. I saw him go to the paint and dunk. I saw him take some layups, and he made some threes. An all-around game from Larry Marketing. And again, this is what you want to see. If there's an advantage in the post, take advantage of it. If there's an advantage when you do a pick and roll, take advantage of it. Very few times, and I'm not sure if it's just me, but I've very rarely noticed Larry Marketing do a very good pick and roll. This was by far the game where I saw Larry Marketing play his best pick and roll game, and it was great to see. And of course, his 3-point game, no one's questioning Larry Marketing's not a good 3-point shooter. So of course, having that in his game will be vital as well. The variety and the bulk of ways that Larry Marketing can score gives me faith that he can be consistent like this. Where even coming off of the bench, he could be as consistent as he is for this team. He needs to find that consistency. I believe he can get there. I know he can. And sometimes when I talk about him, I'm harsh on him. It's only because I know he can be the best version of himself on this team. Whether it's starting or coming off the bench, he is talented enough to become an elite scoring player, an elite scoring forward for any team in the NBA. And we have him here. So it's time to get the best out of him. And I think that bench role is suiting him. And in the last 2 games, we've seen the best out of Larry Marketing. I'd like to see that continue. That's all I could say. I'd like to see Larry Marketing continue to have these types of games for the Chicago Bulls, because that will be very vital towards the bench production and the wins as well. Kobe White and Larry Marketing are one and the same in what I want from them. I want them to be scoring options coming off that bench. I want them to provide big production coming off that bench, because they're 2 talented players with the world at their feet, and they can be very good players for the Chicago Bulls, coming off the bench, starting wherever. But they're both on the bench at the moment, and they both can deliver on that bench. So that's what I want to see from both of them. They're one and the same in what I want, and they both played very well in the last 2 games. So I can't complain, and I won't complain about them. I think Troy Brown was the only other guy that played today. I think he only got 2 rebounds. I'm not going to mention Troy Brown. He only played 14 minutes today. So again, he's still trying to earn his minutes, as are many players on that bench. I haven't seen Al-Farouq Aminu in a while. I'm not sure what happened to him. Denzel Valentine didn't play. So Ryan Archie-Diakono didn't play. A bunch of players didn't play. And yeah, that's basically about it. Once again, I'm not going to put a must improve on this team. I thought from start to end, I think nearly everybody played very well. And I'm not going to target someone that played 14 minutes. I used to do that with Daniel Gafford, to be fair. But since with Troy Brown still developing for this team, I think it's only fair that I give him a little bit of time to try and improve his worth, maybe get some more minutes and show what he's capable of. So I'm not going to really target him in today's game either, even though many people might believe I should. I'm not going to. I truly believe it takes some time to really see what this team's all about, to really see what Troy Brown's all about. Everybody on that bench now that hasn't played minutes needs to find and take advantage of their opportunities when they play. So I'm expecting when Denzel Valentine gets another chance on this team, he takes advantage of it. When Ryan Archie-Diakono gets another chance to play on this team, he takes advantage of it. That's what I want to see with this team, and that's the point of having competition for places on a team like the Chicago Bulls. For everybody that doesn't play to step up when they're called upon. And let's see down the line if the bench can continue to play the way that they've been playing. And the player of the game is simply Zach LaVine. I mean, 22 points and 13 assists. I mean, what more could you ask for from your All-Star? Really, what more can you ask for? What a great game from him. Again, seeing Zach LaVine get 13 assists puts a massive smile on my face. I'm so happy to see Zach LaVine when he is in this kind of mode where he's able to find open players left, right, and center, and he's able to be a playmaker for this team while also adding some scoring punch here and there. I really enjoyed Zach LaVine's game today, and again, there have been some times where Zach LaVine has struggled over the course of a few games with ankle injuries and just missing shots, not making the right shots, not making the right plays, and we've criticized Zach LaVine for that. But a game like this makes me very happy that he's still on this team, makes me very happy that we have 2 All-Stars, and makes me very happy that he's able to play in a diverse way for this team while still making an impact. You have to love Zach LaVine's game today. The Bulls' record is 22-28. We're on a 3-game win streak, and we are playing very important games here. We are playing games against the competition that we want to be. We want to take advantage of these teams because we believe we should be in the playoffs. I think you guys should agree. You guys might agree with that. I agree with that. I think the Bulls are capable of being a playoff team at this point in time. We have lost to very good teams. We had a 6-game losing streak to some elite teams in the NBA. But now that those teams have come and gone, we're versing teams that are not so elite. No disrespect to these teams that we're versing, but they are struggling just as much as us. So the fact that we are able to pick up wins against teams like the Raptors and the Pacers, who are in competition for our spot, it's very important that we pick up those victories. And another team that we're going to need to try and win is a back-to-back tomorrow against the Atlanta Hawks. From my understanding, Atlanta Hawks have a few questionable players that might be missing as well. I believe John Collins is not playing. Potentially Clint Capella's not playing. Chris Dunn, of course. I can't remember if Chris Dunn has played for the Hawks or not, to be honest. But there are a bunch of players that could be missing for the Atlanta Hawks. But the one key player that they do have is their best player, Trae Young. And Trae Young gave us a lot of hard work in their first game against us. The first time we versed the Atlanta Hawks, he gave us the business. He absolutely destroyed the Chicago Bulls all by himself. So that is definitely a game that we should not be taking lightly just because they have more players missing. This is going to be a very important game for the Chicago Bulls. And this is definitely the game where I think it will be the hardest game we have this weekly stretch. The Timberwolves game will also be difficult with both players, D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns, back. But the Atlanta Hawks, the next game, that back-to-back, that's going to be a very important game for this team. And a win here will make me very, very happy. And I hope that we can find a way to pick up a very important victory over the Atlanta Hawks. Let's just wait and see how that goes. A back-to-back. The Bulls played very well in today's game, and hopefully that back-to-back can be a back-to-back wins. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful and safe day. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, and hopefully you've enjoyed the past 3 games, and hopefully we can make that a 4-game winning streak. Fingers crossed. Let's see what we can do tomorrow. Take care and peace.